Hello students, welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. My name is Mr. Stanley Ombogo. Dear students, this is a continuation of analysis of an artist of the floating world. What we are doing is that we are looking at the thematic concerns. So in the previous video, we were able to look at the theme of responsibility and change. And in this session, allow me take you through the theme of changing values in Japan, and again, what we call the intergenerational conflict. That is a conflict between two generations. For example, we can talk about a conflict between teenagers and adults, or we can talk about a conflict between the young and the old. So talking about the theme of that is the changing values in Japan and intergenerational conflicts. The novel An Artist of the Floating World portrays a society that instills the importance of respect and obedience towards elders in the young, but is nevertheless defined by intergenerational conflict and distrust. This conflict becomes particularly fierce after the war, as the younger generation heaps blame on the older generation for leading the country down a disastrous path. So when you talk about intergenerational conflicts, dear students, remember that after the war, some of the soldiers, some of the military men who survived really blame the likes of the narrator Masuji Ono for making uh, making a number of youths lose their lives because they took part in that is spreading propaganda and spreading propaganda that finally led to the war that occurred. So another thing is that although Ono's generation seems to have definitely lost in the intergenerational struggle over the country's values, this can hardly be said to be the end of intergenerational conflict. So instead, uh, the story or the novel suggests that the issues at stake will arise over and over again as a new generation will always come along to challenge the beliefs of those who used to make up the younger generation. So another important thing to note is that post-World War II Japan was a time of great change and upheaval of traditional values. So the defeat of Japan in the war creates a large division between individuals and generations. So this can be seen, that is through characters like the Miyake, there is also Suichi, and a number of younger generations. So Morisan, Takeda, Ono, and Suichis represent the changing values in Japan because each time there is a different focus that we see in them. So Masuji Ono and his grandson Ichiro have clashing values, with Ono representing the traditional values of pre-war Japan, whereas Ishiro represents post-war Japan and the new generation. And again, that is why when Ishiro is playing, he tries to imitate the cowboys. And, Ono feels that maybe the grandson should try something else. So there are great changes explored that range from the changing attitudes towards the war, the changing views about family hierarchy, the transformed opinion about the geography of Japan, and the increasing prevalence of the Western culture. So cultural tension are depicted again in different various scenes between Ishiro and the grandfather Ono. So Ishiro fancies watching the Godzilla movie and he is obsessed with cowboys and Popeye and lacks interest in Japanese heroes. On the other hand, Ono is compassionate about the ancient art and he even tries to make his grandson draw something on the sketchpad unsuccessfully. So that is also telling us, how different in ideas the two generations are. That is Ono, who represents the older generation, and Ishiro, the grandson, who represents the younger generation. Another thing is that women are portrayed throughout this novel from the perspective of Ono, as well as from the perspective of the changing Japanese society around him. So the concept of Japanese masculinity changes when Japan is defeated in the World War II, and the role of women is no longer what it used to be, that is, before the war. Besides, there is a drastic change in women's stereotypes and gender relations, also are said to stand out as the plot exposes Noriko's quest for a husband that is having failed in the first attempt, that is in the first marriage negotiations with the Miyakes. Uh, it is also important to note that Ono deserts Morisan's teachings in painting and adapts new ones so that he cannot remain an artist of the floating world. So his move leads to his rejection from the pavilion where he used to work with the other artists. So this is some sort of change in the artistic values then. And we also learned that Mr. Kuroda too, in his time, makes paintings that Ono thinks are controversial, and soon he is taken by policemen for interrogation. So his portraits are referred to as a bad, offensive materials that generates, bad smoke. So that is said exaggeratively by the police when they ban uh, that is the portraits belonging to Mr. Kuroda. Uh, and during this time, Ono smells the burning. So Ishiro is also thrilled with the monsters as compared to his grandfather, who is excited about art. So that also, shows another intergenerational conflict. So on another illustration, Ishiro's sitting posture disturbs his mother, who believes it is bad manners. So Ichiro allows his feet to slump lifelessly on the floorboard, and this irritates Setsuko, the mother. So again, though Ono's father believes in a wandering priest and thinks art is part of laziness that leads to misfortune, his son Ono holds to it and becomes a prominent man. And later on, Ono succeeds through art, which the father really countered earlier on. So that brings us to the end of this session, dear students. Thank you for watching, and always remember to keep it easy, Elimu. Until next time, bye.